Okay, yesterday we saw halacha that if someone writes all his property, right, gives away his property to his wife, she's an apotropis because he doesn't want to give all his property to her. He wants to give a covet. He wants to give a covet. Then we saw halacha that a person writes his property to his sons and his wife, right? Then she goes ahead and she's losing her ksuba. She's machla ksuba by that. I mean, we saw a few different reasons and they were slugged up. So we're up to a few different cases over here. We're up to Kuf Lamed Beis Amid Beis. Hahuda Amalahu, the first wide line. Hahuda Amalahu, Palga Libras. A guy said to someone, half of my property is to my daughter, Upalga Libras, and half of my property is to my daughter. In other words, all the karka that I have, I'm dividing the estate among my girls. However, Vitilsa Leisis Peperi, and a third I'm giving to my wife in Paris. So the shaila is the havamin of the Gemara is that these Paris were connected to the ground. So if they were connected to the ground, they would have it in a karka. So if that's the case, we said yesterday that if a wife accepts kol shehu in karka, she loses her ksuba, correct? That was right. So the question, so now if this Paris were attached to the ground and she accepted it, then it would be tantamount to her losing her ksuba because she is Michael, the rest was given to what? To the girls. Michael the shibud on the lien on the property that was given to the girls. Penny, we're beginning the Gemara now on 2 lines down after it gets white. So Iklu Rav Nachman the Surah, Rav Nachman, who again, Rav Nachman, constantly the expert in Dinei Mominis, happened to come to Surah. Oyel Gabe Rav Chisda came up to see him to ask him the Shaila. Amalei Kie Gavnamai. So Rav Chisda said, in this case, what's the deal? Is the wife that gets the Paris, is in fact she Michael Haksuba? It's a Michael Haksuba. Amalei, so Rav Nachman told Rav Chisda, Hachi Ameshmuel, Afilu Hiknala Ela Dekel Echad, even if he's marked the 1 dekel peirosav of the ksubasa. So if you give all the property to your children and you give 1 tree to your wife and she accepts the tree, she's Michael the she, but she has on the ksuba. So Rav Nachman did not get all the facts. Rav Nachman thought we're speaking about peiros that are attached to the ground and has it in a karka. Amalei, so Rav Chisda said, Eimadam Shmuel Hasam the Aknele Begufa the Ara. That's where you went gave a piece of the ground itself. Hacha Peira. Over here, Peira Ba'almahu. All she received was not attached Peiris, were disattached Peiris. Metaltalin, not Karka. So Amalei said Rav Nachman, Metaltalei Karmis. You're telling me that what? That it was Metaltalin? You telling me it's Metaltalin? Metaltalin Vade like Kamina. I never said that. In other words, if it's metaltalin, she's not Michael Hashibin on the when it's karka, she's Michael Hashibin on the rest of the property. But in this case, where half was given to the daughter, half was given to the other daughter, and she received loose Paris, she is not Michael Hashibin, and she would receive what from? Okay, now bear in mind, fellas, we said yesterday when we Michael Hashibin, it's only on the property that is given away. Right now, in other words, you have 3 fields, right? You have 2 fields, and 2 you give away. If the husband would acquire another field afterwards, zicha the shibud would go on that, right? In other words, she doesn't lose a ksuba; she loses the right to collect from that property. Okay, she loses the right to collect from that property. It makes a lot of sense. Again, when you're Michael, what are you Michael? What you have now, but the futures, she's not Michael ksuba on futures now. That was the shaila yesterday with Bari, and that's how we got into the shaila in the first place. Case number 2. Ahuda Amalahu, Tilsa Lebras, Vitilsa Lebras, Vitilsa Leisis. So I'm giving what? I'm dividing my property into 3 parts. 1/3 I'm giving to one daughter, 1/3 I'm giving to the other daughter, and 1/3 I'm giving what to my wife. Is she Michael, guys? Is she Michael the Shibin on the 2/3? Absolutely. She's receiving karka. Again, karka kol shehu. She's, guys, hakosav gon lechasa, and you give karka kol shehu to what? To your wife. She's Michael Ksuba. So clearly a third and a third, a third. She's getting more than a kol shehu. She is Michael the 2/3 that what? Were given to the daughters. Now, Shchiva Chod Mibinse, one of the daughters now died. One of the daughters died. Does she get that? In other words, do we view that as, well, she was Michael it already, and therefore there's no backsies? Or do we view it as if the husband went ahead and reacquired it? And as we said, we introduced, if any property comes in after the fact, you will be what? Of course, she'll be collecting the ksuba. So it's a very interesting shiloh over here. Do we view the land that she was Michael already as gone, or do we view it as new reacquired property that she would go ahead on and collect a ksuba from?
His father's alive.
Yeah, he's alive.
From Yerusha, want to go back up to him?
What?
From Yerusha.
Again, it goes to him. It goes to him. So the question is now, can she collect it? Can she collect it? So, Sava Rav Papa Lemeimar, says Rav Papa. Rav Papa said that what? That Shakla Ella Tilsa. All she gets is a third. Why? Because she was Michael already. All she gets is a third because she was Michael already. So Amalei Rav Kahana, Ilu Hadakani. If he acquired, again, he's a live baruch. Ilu Hadakani, if he acquired new land, Milay Shakla, would she not go ahead and take that? Even the Ilu Hadakani Shakla, since you acquired new land, you would take Hashtanami Shakla. This now we're going to view what as new land, and she'll take a piece of the action. So that's what a puppy said, and this is Rav Kahana said back. Let's see Rashbam, guys, here. I'm going to Papa top Rashbam. Ilu kana nechasim acherim basa hachi. Lesla leisha bitmia. Would the woman not get in that property? Havada yisla. Vada she would. Why? Then he the machla shibuda lebanais bishvil she'asa shutif beinehem chayv ksubasa miyalei machla. She wasn't Michael ksuba. She was Michael this land, the shibud on this land. Right? She'im timsa makam litroif. If she find a place to go ahead and collect, kigoin sheyikne nechasim, that he acquires nechasim, payrefis mehem. She'll collect the ksuba from them. Ukidiksiv udaasid ana, as it says in the ksuba, udaasid ana lemikni shenechasim asidim lavai yishtabedla. Any nechasim that he would acquire, there's a lien. V'kivin the ilohad the kani meyadam acher oimi varishav. If he got from another person or inherited from someone, isla leisha. Hashtanami ki naftalah me oisa nechasim atzman, from the nechasim that previously had been divvied out. It falls to now islay. The mali oisa nechasim atzman, mali acherim. What's the difference? Shem nisratza laklis hamatana lebanois v'lim chalehem shibud lebayla mi aloi machli. She wasn't Michael. She was Michael. If it was given to a matana, she was Michael the shibud, but not what it was returned to the husband. In Timsum Makam Ligvais V'chein Halacha, says the Rashbam, so is the Halacha. So it's an answer to a fascinating shaila, right? Any future property you would get is a property that she once was Michael once before, and now he reacquires because the daughter died. Exactly right, Baruch, that the husband got it back. That's exactly the shaila. And Memela, it has no different than if she acquired totally new property that never had it done with. It's reacquired, it was given. And so now it's inherited by what? By the husband, and thus the shibud of a ksuba, which she wasn't Michael, now is on the property. Okay. Another case. Hahu de palginu lenichsei isasei ulabina. A person went ahead, he divided up all his nechasim between his wife, his son and his wife. We're speaking about a shriv meirah. So now it's a shriv meirah that he made his wife a shutif bein abanim. However, shayer chad dikla, he left over one dekel that he not say to go. So as a shriv meirah, he's give away all his property. He gave away for his wife and what and his. Now, normally the shayla is she moichel everything or not? Is she moichel and only gets a piece of action in the dekel, or do we say that just like she gets a piece of action in the dekel, she would get a piece of action in the chasim that went to the son? Okay. Savar Ravina Lemeimar, Ravina held to say, Lesla elachad dikla. All she has what is that dekel. That's all she has is that palm tree. Amalei Rav Yema Ravina, Ilesla. If she has nothing, meaning she was Michael the Shibud, Chad Dikla Nami Lesla. She doesn't have the dekel either. She was Michael that as well. If she's Michael that as well. Ella, Migu the Nachta Ledikla, just like what? She gets a piece of the action in the dekel. Nachta Lenami Lekula Nifse. She gets a piece of action what? In the whole property. She gets a piece of everything in the whole property. So it's not considered what? Oh, let's see a little Rashbam over here. Again, it's a short night. Amr Rav Yem Ravina. Ilesla ksubasa mechelek habanim mishum de yoda de lesla in the chas machrina umachlo lahu b'shvil she'asa shutav b'nayim ihachi diklanami lesla. She doesn't have a piece of action in the dekel either. The hayadasla lay lahai dekel. She knew about it. Umachlo lahu liyarshav. In other words, it was a known entity, fellas. Good, it wasn't divided up. But if she's Michael in the property that was divided up, and she's being benevolent in the schus that she got this property, so even this dekel also. So once you tell me that what she has no piece of action in the dekel, then she has no piece of action at all. But if she has a piece of the action, the chok subasa machla mehani nechasim, all the nechasim she was Michael, the islay that he has now, mishum the asa shutif, the mali limchel shibuda may oisin shechalik, the mali amai oisin dekel shalai chalik. What's the difference? Elamai yislan lemeimar. Me'ezatam nachda adekel lishra himenu hainu mishum delay machla ksubasa. You know why she can collect it? Because she wasn't Michael that. Because her husband left, again, it's a shchiv meira. And why didn't he divide it up? He left her a little place to collect from. Oh, he left her a place to collect from, meaning the sheba is still there. Therefore, the property as well are given to their sons. There also would be sheba on that property. Going high dekel, he didn't want to give this dekel to his sons. Umigo de nachta adekel, it was left over for her. She's inheriting that. There's a sheba on that. Nachla nami achelik habanim, guys. You hear the svara. In other words, why did the shchimera leave that over? That she should have a place to collect from. So once he left it over, there's no mechila, boom. The high the shaska v'le'ira, you know why she remained silent? Hainu lefi shahayimeniach le'adekel. In other words, guys, so what's the taina? If she wasn't Michael, she should have opened the mouth. She didn't have to. Why? Because he left over the dekel. He left over the tree. Usvara, and she held. Lama a'ara achshav. Why should I begin complaining now? Achi yisumu bezdin as a dekel vatrifenu v'hada ariel albanim. When Bezdin goes ahead and evaluates the dekel, which I clearly can collect from, then I'll go ahead and collect from the other things itself. V'yetruf mehen, I'll collect from them. Meiser. Lehavish stika di da mechila, because the stika is not mechila. Elahechid di mechalik kol hanachasim. I would underline the word kol. When is a shtika mechila? When all the property is what is divided up. Okay, nothing's left over. So Rav Yemar tells Ravina, you're telling me all she has is the dekel? If she has the dekel, she has everything. Yes, Mendy.
We have to rule it down because if he gets better, he gets it all back.
Hmm? No.
Otherwise, we get everything away.
You're right. That is correct.
That's the time.
No. It's not true. If he leaves over something, he doesn't get back anything. All he gets back is that thing he left over. Because if he really wanted to go ahead, he thought he was dying, he'd give away everything. It's the opposite far Mendy. If he leaves over that dekel, right? You know what the halacha is, then the other stuff he taka loses because he thinks that what he's going to get the dekel. If he thought he's dying, he can give away everything. Okay. Anyway, so that's the case. Another case. Amrav Huna shchiv meira shekosav kol nechasav laacher. A shchiv meira, he wrote over all his property to someone else. In other words, he wrote it over to somebody else. Royan. Now, let's go back in time before I think to be Magdim. Reb Yochanan and Broika. What's the shita? The Tanakama held that if you go ahead and you take in a chasim and you play favorites, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And Reb Yochanan and Broika said what? He said that Reb Yochanan and Broika said no. That if the person was royally yarshu, if it's ben habonim, right? It's a son among other sons. Not ben bas ben abanim, that not, but ben abanim, yes. So now, a shchiv meira, he gave everything he had to an individual. Royan, im royally yarsha, if he's roy to inherit, noitlan mishum yerusha, then he gets a mishum yerusha. The imlav, noitlan mishum matana. So the Gemara will get to what's the nafkamina between if you have it as a yoy, we should have it as a matana. But fellas, who is the one who says that you could give? Everyone says you can give it away as a matana. Everyone says that, correct? Who is the one who says in Moyli Yarshay? That's Reb Chanina, Reb Yochanan and Breika. That's Reb Yochanan and Breika. Good. So now, Rav Huna said this, and Rav Nachman takes him to task. Amalei Rav Nachman, Gonva Genuve, like you're stealing das over here. In other words, your shaila should be, do we paskin like Reb Yochanan and Breika or not? Right. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan Breika is the one who says in Royal Yarshay it's good. No one else holds that. So if you're questioning in that matter, why are you going ahead and not, getting to the point, cutting to the chase? Why don't you get to the point and say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan and Breika or not? You seem to be dancing around it. So he said, Genava Genuve Lamalach. Isir lecha Rabbi Yochanan and Breika. If you hold like Rabbi Yochanan and Breika, that one is able to go ahead and bequeath to somebody who's right to be bequeathed at the expense of other people who are right to inherit, then what? Ema halach Rabbi Yochanan and Breika. The Hashemaitzach Rabbi Yochanan and Breika who, because the sugi goes like him. Okay. The Azla, Dilma. So now it's funny, guys. Rav Nachman is being malamit schus in Rav Huna. Why he didn't bring in Rabbi Yochanan and Breika? Good. In other words, you ask the shaila this way. You're meaning that what? That you're avoiding Rabbi Yochanan and Breika. There must be a reason that the great Rav Huna is avoiding it, and Rav Nachman's filling in the blank. This is all Rav Nachman talking, guys. Okay, this is all Rav Nachman talking. And Rav Nachman is he's filling in the blanks. Why Rav Huna would have said the shaila without expressing that what? It was according to Rabbi Yochanan and Breika. So that's what he's saying now. So, who does that? Dilma kiha ka'amit. Maybe this is what you heard. Maybe this is what you heard, and that's why yes, the shaila. There was a person who was dying. And they said to him, Nichse leman, who should get your property? He was dying, and they asked him, who should get your property? So Dilma leplanya, maybe so and so. The amalahu elalaman, meaning who else? It's obvious that that's what you meant. That elalaman, who else should get it? Right. So by saying elalaman, it's as if you said nechasle leplani should go to so and so. The amat la alon, and it was said to us imroy liyarshai, if the person who said elalaman, that noitlim mishum Yerusha, v'imlav noitlim mishum matana. In other words, you're not there's two ways to learn over here, guys. Let's learn the more pashut way. Rabbeinu Gershom says there were no other sons. So once there's no other sons, we're avoiding the Rabbi Yochanan and Breika issue. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan and Breika says is then when you're showing favoritism for one son among other sons. He says over here, Rabbeinu Gershom is saying that Elalaman Kloimar. He says, Imloi etna lezeh, if I don't give it to this one, lemi etna, who else would I give it to? Shleihayyalei bonim. In other words, he was the only game in town. Now we want to know, when he gave it to him, did he give it to him what, as a Yerusha, or did he give it to him as a matana? And now, guys, it's very geschmack. So now the way Rav Nachman is wording the question. So therefore, you, Rav Huna, we're not going ahead and saying the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan and Breika, because it has nothing to do with Rabbi Yochanan and Breika. It is not. This is the Rashbam disagrees. I find this more pashut. It has nothing to do with Rabbi Yochanan and Breika. There is no other son. You're not playing favorites one over the other. So Memela, the whole shaila that you focused on when you gave it to this individual was the Mitaris Yerusha or Mitaris Matana. We'll see the nafkamina in a second, but it had nothing to do with Rabbi Yochanan and Breika, and therefore you didn't mention it. So initially, he thought that what? The shaila was, Rav Nachman said, you're asking whether you can give a ben abanim. So he said, you're stealing. If you pass like Rabbi Yochanan and Breika, what's your shaila? Right? If you're Shematana. Ella must mean that that's not really what happened. It must be it has nothing to do with Rabbi Yochanan and Breika, because there was no other sons. There was no sons, period. Ella man, who else can I give it to? That's the way we learn Pshat in the Gemara, guys. Geschmack. Again, it's not the Rashbam, it's Rabbeinu Gershom. I think it's very, very nice. Okay, so continues the Gemara. Okay, so this is what Reb Nachman told, right? So what happened over here? Amalei, so Rav Huna retorted to Rav Nachman, that's exactly what I meant. Nothing to do with Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika. A shayla where a guy gives it to somebody who's royally yarshai, but it's a shchiv meira. We want to know, is it mitoris yerusha or mitoris matana? Now, what's the nafkamina, fellas? Lamai hilchasa, savar ravada barava kamei de rav lameimar imroy liyarshay almanasay nizaynis minachasav v'emlav ein almanasay nizaynis minachasav. So, this fellow who gets it, if he got it as a inheritance, then the widow of this man would go ahead and be sustained from the estate. That's what it says in the Ksuba. You'll go ahead and be sustained, be sustained from the estate until you get married. But what happens if you give it as a matana? Matana is gone. That's the nafkamina, whether he gave it to the guy as a Yairish or as a matana. If the guy got it as a Yairish, then the almana will go ahead and be sustained. But if not, if it's given as a matana, sorry, you're out of luck.
Even with the shiva, she had that
What?
shiva, even with that shiva?
Amalei Rava, Migra Gara. It should be worse because it's given away as a matana? Hashta bi Yerusha deraisa. Amit almanasai nizainis minachasav. By Yerusha, which is an inheritance deraisa. The almana still goes ahead and collects. The matana derabanan. Guys, a shchiv meras matana is only derabanan. There's not even kinyan. Like kol shekain. So, in other words, this can't be the nafkamina. Because even given away as a matana, she still would eat from the estate. In other words, the tefisa of where it's given away by Yerusha, it's mamish the other guys. And nonetheless, she's sustained, where the kinyan is not so stark. It's only a takana de rabbanon, a shtiv meira, that the guy on his deathbed should not be fashadet, right? Certainly she still gets it. So that can't be the nafkamina of Adabarava between whether the guy got it as Yerusha or the guy got it as a matana. Ella, what's the nafkamina? Ella Amarava, ki the shalach ravacha bar avya l'divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika, nechasei lecha, v'achrecha leplaini. Someone says, my nechasim are to you, and afterwards they go to so and so. So we had the shaila. Guys, let's revisit this. If a person receives a matana, and then it's conditional, you're receiving this matana al menas, that afterwards this other person gets it after your death. On the other hand, if he gives it, it's a lashon of Yerusha, even though he said that the condition afterwards, that it should go to afterwards, it doesn't go to that person afterwards. Because Yerusha, he can give away. But once he gives it as a matana afterwards, that would be masna mashakasa b'Torah, because Yerusha is permanent; it doesn't leave. So the nafkamina would be if the guy's dying, and on his deathbed he says, "Ela leman." You ask the guy, "Who do you want to get this? This guy?" So he goes, "Yeah. Who else?" But afterwards, I wanted to go to so and so. That's what he said. So he said, "Ela leman." Who else should it go to? And then he said, and after this guy, when he dies, let it go to the next person. Yeah. Now, going to the next person is a matana. The first person, if it's a matana, then it goes to the second person. If it's a Yerusha, it stops there. That's the nafkamina. So let's see it inside. Elamarava kidushalach Rav Achabar Avya l'divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika nechasei lecha v'achrecha leplaini imhaya rishon royally yarshai. Ein l'sheni b'makam rishon klum. The second guy gets anything. She'ein lashon matana ela lashon Yerusha, because ela laman is a lashon Yerusha, not matana. The Yerusha ein lehefsik, and once it stops, there's no hefsik; it stays. Amalei Rava Rav Nachman for ifsika. He gave it on a tanai. What do you mean it has no hefsik? You're inheriting this on the condition that after you it goes to another person. Says Gemara, who savar yeshla hefsik? Rachmana Amar. He thinks that what? He could do this. Rachmana Amar, guess what? Ein lehefsik. Bottom line, guys. Let's see the Rashbam, 2 lines from the bottom. Ifsika, the Altanai, Sheitel Sheni Achrav, Harish Larishain. The whole reason he was Moirish to number 1 is on the condition that he gives it as a present to number two. Rachmana Amar ein lo hefsek. V'avei masna al mashakasa b'toira. V'avei maisa kayim. V'tanai botol. V'hachi hilchasa k'desholach ravacha. V'chazin uvda b'sama kabasa. We're going to see in a second a case like this. So very geshmak, guys. So the case is the guy's dying. He gives all his nechasim to someone by lashon of El Laman, and in addition he says, and afterwards just go to another person. When he said El Laman, is lashon Yerusha or lashon Matana? My nafkamina. If it's a lashon of Matana, then after the first guy dies, the second guy gets it. If it's a lashon Yerusha, that's where it stops, because he didn't have the ability to go ahead and give it to somebody else, because that would be masla mashakas b'toira. That Tanai bottle, the Tanai is out of the picture. Umaisa kayim, and the mice of Yerusha would stand. Geshmak. Amid base. A Maisa that substantiates what we just saw. Hahu damle lechave. Guy said to his friend, Nechase lecha, my nechasim go to you, lachrecha leploni. For Rishon royally arshai. And the Rishon was royally arshai. Have a shachiv Rishon, the first one died. Asa Sheni came along the second guy number two, Kotava, and he wanted to be Toiveya. After all, that's what his condition was. Sav Rav Ilish Kamei de Rav Lameimar. Rav Ilish thought in front of Rav to say, Sheni Nami Shakal. The Sheni should get it. The Sheni should get it. That's what he would say. Amalei, Rav said, Dayane de Chatzatz Hachi. Dayane and a Dayane de Chatzatz Hachi Daini. A Dayan that there's two pshatim. Let's go with a Dayan who doesn't know what to do. So he gives it to Al Safik, will give it to the guy. Chatzatz lashon chetziriyu. Rashbam guys. Dayani pshara, Dayani of compromise. She'em bekiyin bedin. They're not experts. V'choitzitzin mechzel lezeh or mechzel lezeh. Lezeh kedin mamin amot b'safik. Chanel pirish chatzatz the Beis forest, like he made a partition in a cemetery. So Rabbi gave him a zog. Rabbi said, "You're taking the easy way out. You're saying a dayan that's chatzatz the dot paskins like this." Said Rabbi now, Amalei. So lav hainu the sholach Rav Acha bar Rav Avya. Is this not the case of Rav Acha bar Avya, who said, since the first person was royally Yarshai, it's a Yerusha. Yerusha ain't like hafsaka, and the Sheni has nothing because it's masna mashakasa b'toira, because it was a matana. So that's what Rabbi said. Ichsif, Rav Ilish felt really, really embarrassed. He felt embarrassed. Look at Rashbam. Ichsif, Rav Ilish. Merava. Rav Ilish was embarrassed in front of Rava. Penyoma Rava Beliboy let Rava say inside, Ilula Yisi Bekan, if Rava wasn't here, Hayadon didn't sheker. Rav Ilish would have judged incorrectly. And also anything that he judged previously before Rav. In other words, Rav Ilish felt that Rav will feel he's nishkandayan because he blew it in this case, and just like he blew it in this case, he blew it in a bunch of other cases, right? So that's what he would think. He was embarrassed that he's not royally to paskin. And now Rava comes to go ahead, man, and be menachem. He comes to be menachem Rav Ilish. So listen to beautiful. So Ichsif, Rav Ilish was embarrassed. So Kori Aleha, Rava said about Rav Ilish, Ani Hashem be'ita achishena. Am Hashem be'ita achishena. And it's time achishena. In other words, says the Rashbam, you know why Hashem sent me here? Because since your psak is right all the other times, he saved it this time. Look at Rashbam, beautiful Rashbam. Rava, Kariel of Rava lenachemai. We want to go ahead and be menachem Rav Ilish. Ani Hashem be'ita achishena be'eshet tzadikim tzrichim Yeshua. When tzadikim like you, Rav Ilish, in this case, needs a Yeshua, Hakadosh Baruch Hu mamtzia lehem. Hakadosh Baruch Hu goes ahead and finds it. Right? Afata ani yodeya b'cha. You never blew it before. You know why Kadosh Baruch Hu sent me here now? Because all the other times it's right. Let's keep the streak going. Right? Let's keep the streak going. That you weren't nichshel. Okay. Very good. Says the next mission. A guy he gives him a tana. He gives his property away. The yaniach esbanav, and he leaves his kids without inheritance. He gave away everything, and he left his kids without inheritance. Masha asa asu, what he did is done. It's a done deal, right? It's done. Again, that's no chiddush over there. However, the chachamim did not have what enough from this. Says Rashbam, chachamim don't have a nachas ruach from his actions. They have anger. Charinaf. Goyim lehem shekoyasim alav. They caused that the chacham should be angry. The ko'oki nachla daraisa, because they were oika nachla daraisa. We're going to see a svar in the Gemara. Just because in other words, if you revenge should not be taken by holding back an achla. It shouldn't be, and because you never know. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, im loy hoyu bonov nehagim kishura. If his children were not being noye kishura, they were off the derech. Shura means on the right path. They were off the derech. Then it's a good thing what he did. Now here's the question: is Rav Shimon Gamliel explaining the chachamim, or is he disagreeing with the chachamim? Is he coming to explain why a person would do it, or is he disagreeing and saying even if they're what the chachamim will hold, even if they're off the derech, still you should give them the Yerusha?
They have a taina on them?
But no, there's no taina. But ein ruach chacham nachimenu, you didn't do the right thing. Halachically, masha asu asu. They have no monetary complaint. But you're not a good mechanech. You didn't do a good thing. You didn't do a good thing. As we're going to see we're going to see a mice in the Gemara. The following add a question. Mi pligi rabbana leder Shim Gamliel. Eloi says the Rashbam. Mi pligi. Da filu ain't bun of noyagin kishura. Even the guys, the sons are not going the right way. Ein ruach chachamim noichi imena. Why? The dilma nafka minei zera. Maybe they'll have good children. Ma'alya kidel kamon bas. In other words, maybe they'll have good children, and therefore the children should get the Yerusha. So they're not so good. But who knows what the kids will be like? Who knows what the kids will be like, right? In other words, you think you never know. You never know. This kid's not so good. Maybe the kid, who knows what's going to come from them? Who knows? So therefore, that's the reason why. Rav Shimon Gamliel would maybe he's not arguing. They're arguing. Maybe you never know, or no. Nonetheless, it's a good thing you did. That's the question. Tashma. The Yosef ben Yezer, Hoyla ben Yosef ben Yezer, one of the famous Zugais and Pirkei Avos. He had a son. This son was not doing the right thing. He wasn't doing the right thing. Alisa de Dinri. He had an Alisa de Dinri. Guys, let's look at the Tosfos, the first Tosfos at the top, 4 lines down, towards the end of the 4th line. Lakach nira loy. Elisa is a kli sheshoyim yayin v'shemen. It's a kli you would use to go ahead and draw wine or shemen. So you had some type of kli, right? Art scroll types to the purse. Literally, it means an aliyah. It means an addict. But it's hard to think that he had an addict full of dinarim. So it's more as far as say that he had some type of kli full of dinarim, and he was, I guess, and he didn't want his son to get it. So what did he do? Come agdisha. He went ahead and he was magdish it. He made it hegdish, and now what? The guy's out. He made it hegdish, and now he doesn't have what to collect from. So this is a case of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel that we can extrapolate what exactly would they hold over here, okay? Right? We can figure out what exactly would they hold over here, okay? So continues the Gemara. So this is the case. Now Uzal, the son went Nosif Bas Gadil Kalile Diyane Malka, married the daughter of the wreath maker of Yanai. Yanai, they used to wear these wreaths around their head. So again, this is the Roman time. He wore this wreath, and this son married the daughter of what? Of this wreath maker. Oilida Divisu, his wife gave birth, and he went and bought her a present. I wouldn't try this at home, but Zavim Lebanisa, he bought her a fish. Can you imagine your wife gives birth and you show up with a jar of herring? I don't think it's a good idea, right? So he put her a fish. Kara, he cut open the fish. And Ashkaba Margalisa, he found inside a very precious gem. Amrulay, his wife was a kluga. She was smart. Listen to what she told him. Like Samti Lamalka, don't go ahead and go to the king to give it. The Shakli lay mincha b'demei kalili. If you got to pawn this, they're going to give you a cheap price. Don't go to the king. What should you do? Zil amte legabe gizbre. Go to the Beis Hamikdash, the gizbre in the Beis Hamikdash, right? And because then you'll get a better price. Like to shime at, but you don't offer how much. Don't open your mouth. Let hear what he's going to offer. Why? Because if you do open your mouth, listen to this. She said, if you open your mouth and you say a price, it's a done deal. It's like a Kenyan. When you say Amriyasa, what you would say to Hegdish, it's a done deal. Good. Now, Ella, what should you do? Let the Gizba go ahead and evaluate it. And Amti, he went and Shamua Bitflesa Iliyasa de Dinri. He went ahead and evaluated for 13 Iliyasa de Dinri. So it's hard to say 13 addicts of, right? 13. In other words, 13 times of the one that Rav Yosef ben Yosef, 13 times that amount. That's what it was worth. So Amle, the Gizbarim said, Sheva Ika, we have 8. Shis Leka, we don't have 6. In other words, they're going to empty out the coffers in the Beis Hamikdash to pay. It seems that this gem was on the Choshen. It was one of the gems to fit on the Choshen. So it's, as we say in the Master, it was priceless. It was priceless, right? And this person was going to empty the coffers. And so listen what he said. Shava Havuli, give me 7. Shis, Hein Mukdash and L'Shamayim. And the other 6, they're Hegdish. Okay, whenever. So Amdu, right? V'kosvu. And they wrote, the Cheshboinus of Hegdish, they wrote down Yosef and Ye'ezah, Hichnis Achas, he brought in 1, Ubenoi Hichtis Sheish, and his son brought in 6. Ikadi Amri, Yosef ben Ye'ezah Hichnis Achas, Yosef ben Ye'ezah gave 1, Ubenoi Hoitzi Sheva, he took out 7. That's a Ganai. In other words, to say that he gave, that's a Mila. He gave 6, right? He left on the table. But to go ahead and say that he took 7, meaning had there been more, he would have taken that as well. Had there been more, he would have taken that out as well. That's what they wrote. Now, from this Maisa, we're going to extrapolate whether the Chachamim agree with Shimon Gamliel or not. So now, here's the Maisa. Midaka Amri, the first Lashon, Hichnis, that he brought in 6, Michal, the Shapa of it. Since Rabbi Yosef ben Ye'ezah was Magdashit, it caused his son to be Magdashit, right? In other words, he did the right thing by being Magdashit and taking away for his son. His son learned from him. So L'chaira, according to this, it's a good thing, and therefore the Chachamim would agree with Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Says the Gemara, Adarabba, Midaka Armi Hoitzi, when it said he took out 7, Michal Delav Shapa of it. Since Rabbi Yosef emptied out his house, this guy was going to empty out his house. In other words, like the first Lashon, Rabbi Yosef did the right thing. Like the second Lashon, he did the wrong thing. So from this Maisa, we're not able to go ahead and figure out what the Chachamim would hold. Right? Again, in the first, if you hold out what he's emulating his father, he did a good thing by being Magdish. If, however, the Lashon Hoitzi, that he took out 7, and the reason he didn't take out 13, because they only had 7, is because what? Just like his father emptied out his house, he learned from his father. In a negative, that's a negative what he did. As the Gemara always says by inferences that from here you can't go ahead and make any diak. My Haviyallah, as I teach, what's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? Should you go ahead, if your son doesn't do the right thing, should you go ahead and give away the house? Tashma, the Amle Shmuel Rav Yehuda, Shinana means sharp one. Loi tahavi be avure achasanta. Don't be present when they give away Yerusha. Bisha, even from a bad son, lebra tava, to a good son. Don't be present. The culture came mibra lebarta, and certainly so in other words, one son to another son, which is at least in the same line, and certainly if they go against halacha by giving from a son to a daughter. So you see over here what we can make that it's not a good thing. You see over here when he told him that he should be present, that it's not a good thing.